All right, welcome to today's end of day recap. This is Christian from it's Tribeca Trade Group, and well, we'll start off with the major indices as I always do, and it's yeah, we actually finished up on the day here. I see SPY up about 20 basis points. Little end of the day move charge at the end of the day. Before I get to the 5 minute bar, you can see we've just been. It's been a very for the overall indices, you look at the overall indices, the volume is very low this week. Kind of same things that I said the last couple days in this video. It's been much less than average volume than normal, but there's kind of some interesting moves going on, just like we talked about yesterday. So I'm going to talk about those interesting moves. You can see for S&P, yeah, I mean it's basically been just a doji, and again, sectors. Not everything is flat. There's some decent moves within. So I don't want to jump ahead because I want to just talk about this right here at the end of the day. A couple candles moving up, but again, it's not. You kind of look at some things, like you look at the Qs, which basically stayed around the same range all day today, and small caps were outperformed. They were up about 40 basis points. But again, I mean, the Qs, it's kind of just been the same thing every week. It just looks like there's a little bit of selling going on. You could see that, it's following the same pattern just about every day where, we get bid up a little bit pre-market or the first hour of the day, and then there's definitely selling going on. And, I think it's more of that R word. It's more rotation. I like to call it shuffling around of sectors, but the main name of the day, I would say, in this group was Netflix. Netflix up 3.5%. We did see a little bit of call buying in it. Take Two was another name, really, really small call buying. Here, I'll show you what I mean, just so that you could see when I say really, really small call buying. It does, come up on the radar, but it's, do you want to follow something like this is difficult, right? We're talking like a $20,000 trade. Yeah, I mean, so it's notable. They bought with some weekly take twos, but and for the most part today, it's a lot of things like this. A lot of things like 400 contracts for 50 cents or 800 contracts. So it's pretty light activity. There's a couple aggressive. I'll go through my list of aggressive trades for the day, but to me, there's not a lot of stuff to really follow in terms of momentum, right? There are momentum plays going up, but they're really small in size, and I stay away when they're too small like this. I don't mention them on Twitter because it's a $20,000 trade, so you got a ton of those. I've got a whole list of them. We'll go through them, but that's basically what's going on in tech. And I know a lot of people, they're kind of scratching their head. That's why I'm spending a little bit of time on tech, because I think a lot of people are still, I think, overweight in their portfolios, and they're not catching the groups that are moving. And I'm going to talk about those, but going into 2018, I think a lot of people are trying to make predictions about what's going to be the hottest area. I think, and I sent out a video about this earlier, my 2018 plays, which is basically I'm not mentioning anything. It's wherever we see the call buying come up. It's been a great indicator all year long, and right now it's pretty quiet. Other than like little things like this. In Take Two, it's been mostly quiet in tech land. The FANG stocks, maybe a little bit. There was a little bit of Facebook calls, very, very small Apple calls, but it's not enough, big size enough momentum to really get things going. So I think eventually this group will wake up, but right now that's not where the repeat call action is coming from right now. So my phrase yesterday was, hey, you could buy the dip in some of this stuff, but it's kind of just like dead right now. It'll wake up eventually, but why force the issue and why be the only buyer? What you want to be in when the institutional money is coming back in. So again, watch the tape, which is what we do on a daily basis, and you're going to see those trades hit the tape, and that'll be your confirmation that buyers are stepping back in. But for now, kind of look at this Qs, they're just not in favor. They're not breaking down either. It's just chop. it's a little bit of a move back to the 20-day moving average, which just kind of do. I mean, we want, you know, uh, little pullbacks here and there, especially ones that are kind of soft, right? I mean that are just going to take some time. So nothing wrong with this. It's just not in favor right now. Okay, so let's talk about. I always talk about the bad first, and then I like to talk about the good. The good. What I mean, it's basically anything base metals, right? Anything metals, mining. The first chart I think to look at is just that the base metals ETF. I think I talked about this in yesterday's video, but in case I didn't, this ETF is a great proxy to kind of watch what's going on in this base metals. Notice you have a VPOC up here, and I think we did mention this yesterday. It could be where we're getting to, but I mean, this has been just a huge move the last week and a half. This is going to look a lot like a copper chart because copper is in this ETF. You've got copper, zinc, and aluminum in this ETF. So you could see they're all moving quite nicely. Copper, just absolutely. And you know what's funny about this? We talked about this pre-market. When this big red candle happened, it was kind of like a big head scratcher. So just when you think things are going to move, like break down to the downside, even a couple days was a lackluster bounce, but it just has kept going. So really remarkable. And really, that's what. So besides that, with that little move at the end of the day in SPOOs, you look at what sectors are doing it, and it's not your usual ones. So you have to be very to catch these moves. First of all, you have to have a cash balance to be able to move in and out of things quickly, and you have to stay nimble. You've got to be able to have that cash ready to deploy when something like this happens, so that you could catch it. But yeah, I mean, it's the whole group of names. We could look at the performers in this ETF. Again, this is the equally weighted ETF if you're not familiar with it, and a real nice proxy for the whole group. And I know everybody's focused on, FCX, which we've just seen call buy. Like it's been almost every day there's call buying. The second name on the list I would say is Alcoa. That one's been seeing a lot of call activity. So probably in the area of most call buying. I would say it's Alcoa and it's FCX. But look at the CENX. This is another aluminum name, up 8.7%. And the only one that was really down a lot, which was on a downgrade, was RGLD, which is a gold miner. Got hit pretty hard today. I forget who downgraded. I think it was Bank of America who downgraded it. But you could see just a lot of green and a lot of names that were up well over 1%. So. Great stuff if you've been participating with this. I own X, I own FCX. I also own the steel ETF. We could look at that one as well. That's the SLX ETF. Also just breaking out as well. So it's not just one name. It's the group. It's the group that's really moving. Also, what kind of caught a bit at the end of the day was XOP, oil and gas. Just right at the end of the day. For the most part, this was around flat. Today, so nice move, kind of hanging in there, and a lot of the smaller names. Fang saw a call buyer today. Also, that looks exactly like the XOP chart. I'm surprised, but this is Diamondback Energy, not the Fang stocks. This is Diamondback Energy. Has been pretty strong. A few other names today, which like I said, I was going to go through the option activity, yeah, you've got FCX on here. You've got Alcoa. You've got Fang on here in this space. RRC caught a call buyer. Keep an eye on this name. It was just, I think, about 2 weeks ago where we saw a really nice aggressive call buyer. It's still underneath the 200-day moving average, but if you kind of zoom out here, but it's getting close. This thing is in a big downtrend. Big call buyer 2 weeks ago in this GPOR. And if this thing gets above the 200-day moving average, this thing could get going. And I think a lot of people are looking at that. We traded. This was a nice, really nice find today in COG. I got long this name today. I liked a couple things here in the chart. I like the MACD crossover. So no call buying. There's a small call buyer in this last week. This name has been on my radar from a couple months ago where we saw a lot of call buying, but somebody brought this to my attention, so I can't take credit for it. I just clicked the mouse and I believe I'm in what am I in April calls in this one? Yes, I am in April 30 calls in this one. So I like the moving to value. I like the moving averages crossing over here, and I like the MACD crossover. That's buy signals, and a nice bounce back above the 50-day moving average. I like how it's rolling, and again, it's one of those names that's not even close to the high, which is 41. I would love to see this thing get above here and then shoot up to 34 bucks, but we'll see. For now, I'm in April calls. I started a position in the beginning of the day, and then I kind of added to the winner at the end of the day. So I like this setup. One more area to talk about, and then I'll switch to today's option activity. This video is already 10 minutes long. But REMX, this is was in the weekend newsletter. I also tweeted this out. What is this thing? It's rare earths. So rare earth metals, and it's companies. It's not the actual commodities. But look at this chart going back from a daily chart. This was a $110 stock. It's a $30 stock now. I think there's a lot of upside to go in this thing. It kind of had a funky looking candle for today, but I did not adjust my position based on that, even though it's kind of looks like a toppy looking candle. I'm going to stay the distance. Keep in mind a lot of yeah. I mean, it looks like a bad print that hit up here, 31.38, which makes it look really bad. So for now, I'm in this no adjustments to this thing, and I want to just let it go. It's in my trend portfolio, cash trend portfolio. Perfect. It's got a 3% dividend. Let it go. Other groups that performed today that were over, let's say, 0.5%. The banks did okay. They've been kind of quiet the last few days. Bonds were a big move yesterday. They were quiet today, just down 9 basis points. Gold continues to rally. Again, a lot of this has to do with the weaker dollar. I have not mentioned that, but that's also what's kind of taking shape here. You could see the UUP ETF, which is a way to kind of track the dollar if you don't have dollar futures set up. But it hasn't broken the what is it, April low or September low, excuse me. But it's been pretty weak, down another 30 basis points. So all the other currencies are kind of rallying against it. Just to kind of touch upon a few other trades that we saw, I think we mentioned enough about the metals space. There was a little bit of U.S. steel calls as well, also long that name. There again, a lot of little stuff. ETP. I spent some time on this one today. I don't have the chart up in front of me, but there's been a lot of accumulation going on in the MLP space. There's two ETFs, and I apologize, I don't have the fund flow data on this right in front of me. But take a look at the volume that's been going on here, and it seems like it's putting in a base. So nice ETP call buyer today. And again, I mean, look at this volume, and that is inflows. They've been buying this. Again, I apologize, I don't have the fund flow data. I don't have the chart set up like that, but you could certainly email me and I'll tell you how much inflows. This is another one, EMLP. Look at the volume in the last month. So nothing has happened yet, but somebody is really accumulating this group of stocks. If you go back to AMLP for a minute, again, this is the MLP ETF. I think EMLT, another MLP ETF, but it's actively managed, I believe. But look at the top weight, ETP, Energy Transfer Partners. Let's see how many calls they traded total on the day. They traded about just 2,800 of those March 8th, so not the biggest bet in the world. Again, we're not seeing a ton of risk taking this week overall, but a nice looking call buyer in there. So keep an eye on that MLP space. It's still below the 200-day moving average, but there's been some really good accumulation that's taking place in that group. What else? Dow DuPont, and a couple names that we've seen some activity that were repeaters. Dow DuPont, I'm long this name. One of my few swing trade ads this week. Also Pepsi, a little bit more calls. We've seen those now 3 days in a row. Today was the smallest of the 3 days, but still, they're still buying that one. And I like the fact that they bought the Dow DuPont as it's been kind of moving back a little bit from where their original cost basis was. They bought DW. I can never type this symbol. DWDP. So it's kind of like a hammer bar today. It doesn't really have the momentum right now, but it's one of those names that this space has been, this material space, steel names, materials has been doing really well. This one is not. So I think somebody's thinking that this thing punches out of consolidation. I'm in it for that play. We'll see what happens. All right, that's today's video. Thanks for watching and have a great night.